Hey, it's Scott Baxter, Barbecue and Bolts. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks to all the subscribers that have subscribed throughout the years. I know it's been a couple of years, but I love to give you DIY projects, and I'm having some time to help you again. So today we're going to go through wheel bearing assembly on a 2000 Ford Excursion. Now this can be from a 2000 to 2005 Ford Excursion. It's the same part, or a Ford F-Series pickup, F250 through F550, 1998 to 2004. It's the same part, same process. So here we go. Wheel bearing replacement, heavy duty. Let's get on it. All right, as you can see, this is total carnage. All of these have broken off except two. This is really bad. We were on a trip up from Austin to Dallas. My kid was on the barbecue team down there, and we drove up during a storm and it was raining, and the puddles were just hitting, and it thrashed this so much that this bearing just eventually gave out. But we made it home, and then I drove it another month, probably just around the neighborhood and around the town. We have a small town here in Rockwall, Texas. But I drove it around there, and and then I started hearing some really bad noises. And that's when I realized that all of these had popped off except this. The wheel never fell off, But now I'm gonna kind of redo some stuff. We're gonna put X codes up here from ATS Springs. Talk to Junior over there. He's big with the Excursion guys. We're gonna put X codes up here, and then in the back, I'm gonna put C codes, but in probably modified Cs. But in the meantime, I have 33-inch tires on this, 18-inch wheels, and we're gonna take these off because all of these are broken anyways, and there's studs underneath. The original studs are still here. Might have ruined my wheel too, but you know, hey, we're all safe and nothing actually happened, so we're good. So I had to get a 3/4-inch socket to take these out. So we're gonna get the 3/4-inch socket right now and unscrew this, take off the spacer, and get to work. All right, for these spacers, you're gonna need a 3/4-inch long socket. I bought an impact driver. I only buy Craftsman. Everything else seems to break. Some of these holes aren't machined correctly, so fitting an impact driver into them is not perfect. Okay, hour later, it's not even 10 yet, 76% humidity, and it's 82 degrees in Texas. It's the middle of June, so summer heat is kicking in. I had to change my clothes because I was overheating, so I'm not gonna be stylish, but we're gonna get her done. So I know these 2.5-inch spacers are everywhere on my truck. I want to take them off because it's just not working. I don't like them anymore. It has a nice stance, but I plan on putting 35s. I'd like to maybe try 37s, but I think 35s is a perfect fit for an Excursion, for going off-road and not rubbing too much, and you know, anything 4-inch lift, 3-inch lift, just a little above stock, is 35s are going to do good. But if I keep the spacers on, it'll rub, and I just want to take all the spacers off. So I bought this 3/4-inch Craftsman impact driver drill, but you know, it fit in one hole out of 8, and that wasn't working. So I have another 3/4-inch socket, a regular one, that's going to fit in there, but this spins too much. And the only way to do it is an impact driver. So I know it's not too popular, but I'm going from the big to the small on this just to get the job done, because I just don't know what else to do. So that was $9 at Lowe's. So we're gonna see how this works. This should take care of my problem of this spinning, trying to get it undone. And this regular drive will fit inside these holes that aren't quite bored out correctly for a big impact driver. So let's see how this works without breaking your tools. You could break your tools for going from big to small. There's one. Now it's working. There we go. That one's toast. All right, next we're going to take the hub off. See if we can Little holder ring. I just use one of these on it. Squish it together. It'll pop off, and you should be able to just wiggle this out. Now these things have a tendency of having the four-wheel drive not work just because it's an older vehicle, and it's going to have air going in to lock these hubs. And I've replaced my little air compressor. I've checked all the hoses, and it still doesn't work. And that could be leaking within this hub assembly. But I guess we'll see if it works after this. If not, I'll probably just put manual locking hubs in here. I mean, these are kind of like the cheaper version, but I'll get a more hefty version in there. All right, so we have that out. So next we're going to take the brake off, and then we're going to hang it. Got a little you see what I see sort of thing. Okay, so we're going to take this off the brake caliper. This is a 17 millimeter. There's 2 bolts. And now that I've tightened this one on accident, like a dipshit. There. All right. Get these bolts nuts, bolts, whatever they're called. I'll bleep out the language, but that's exactly what happens when you're working on cars. You tend to cuss a lot. There's one. This other one's over here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a second caliper. Now, see if we can peel this off. There we go. Now I usually use a bungee, but you know what? Bungees stretch too much, so I'm going to use this and tie it around my frame this time. Because I don't want to stretch these lines out too much. Of course, now you need a screwdriver, which I don't have. Let's see if this will work. Man, that brake caliper almost seems like it's stuck on there. Woo! Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of rubbing. Maybe that's why I'm getting bad gas mileage. Oh, yeah. That's what everybody says in a Ford Excursion. Maybe that's why I'm getting bad gas mileage. Maybe I replace this caliper though. So let's hang this where it's not gonna take these lines. Woo! These are heavy. A lot different than working on a Toyota. Excursions, you're gonna find things are a bit more heavy duty. Alright, I'm gonna hopefully tie a decent enough knot to where this is not gonna fall. Well, at least I'm not wasting time. Alright, go ahead and tell me in the comments that you finished this in 2 hours to make me feel better about my slow DIY ways. Now we're talking. "5 hours later." All right, that's off. Now we're going to take the next bit off. Probably just take these brake pads off. Take these little doodads off. Slide these brake pads out. Voila. This is your ABS line. ABS sensor. Boop. 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 And it plugs in. And this is the line that tells you, hey, your bearing's gone. It is. So the new one will plug right into here. So we can take this old one down. See, I have a jack right here. I have a jack right here on the frame. I have a little backup right there on the shackle. I also have my tire right there, just in case everything falls. I could probably even go a little bit, fall on that if it needed to. So 2 backups, because you do not want 7,500, 8,000 pound Excursion falling on you. That's for certain. Okay, there's your ABS line. All right, next, I need to take this bracket off. This has some big bolts. All right, the funny thing is, these large bolts holding this whole bracket on, you know what fits on it? This is a spark plug. I don't even know what size that is. Sorry, doesn't say. GN SPS 38. Anyways, that's what I use to take in and out spark plugs. So let's put a little adapter on this big bar, put it into small so it all breaks, and then pound on it with a hammer so it breaks more. Here we go. Now these probably have never been off, so I'm gonna try to get some torque here. Break apart torque. That's one loose. We'll try the hammer first. Nothing substitute for your own torque. Here we go. There we go. All right, now that we got those loosened up, we can do it the easy way for the rest of the time. Our little air-powered ratchet. See if it works. There's one. Two. Good hands. Caught that one. That fell off. I'll figure out where that goes later. That holds on brake pads. Done it before. All right. Take that off. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay, next. I need to take this off so this whole thing swivels. So I need to get something for this cotter pin. Alright, when you're losing tools and you don't know where everything is, I have a bigger one than this, which is the one I'm probably going to need. Just checking your 14-year-old son's drawer. I need my needle nose pliers. Oh God, I've been looking for all this stuff. Why does he need it? What is he using it for? There's nothing up here for video games. Anyways, I'm missing some tools, and he also left the bones on his plate for ribs, and the dog's getting to it. Okay, needle nose pliers, courtesy of my 14-year-old's bedroom drawer. This is for steering, but this needs to come off. There we go. We can use this again, I believe. I'm going to, if I don't lose it first. And then we need to take this nut off. Really not sure. Seven eighths to take this nut off. Okay. Okay, so this needs to come out before we can go any further. Just got to figure out how I'm going to get this out. Yeah, if I get my strength added to it from above, I think I can just lift it out. Here we go. All right, get that lifted out. Here's the bolts. I don't know if you can see this. There's a bolt right there, here, and then two more on the other side, and then the whole bearing assembly hub will come off. So we're going to try to figure out what kind of bolts go on there. Okay, if you can see inside there, there's two bolts, and we have our nifty difty go. That should fit. I need to buy a new wrench. This thing's about done. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not going to work like that. What I'll do is I'll get my breaker bar. I only suggest Craftsman. Anything else will bend. But you never know, Craftsman might even bend on this one, because I'm going from big to small. There we go. Alright, this has never been off, I don't believe, in its whole existence since '99. It's 2024, so Wish me luck. There you go. Got that loosened up. Maybe a little bit more. That's loose. All right. One more. See how you have to undo this from here, otherwise you wouldn't be able to reach this. Now just press down. Wish for the best. Bump your head on the fender well. There we go. I'd say out of my power, that's about a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 to get those undone. Really, you could probably just do this with your fingers at this point. Or easy but loud way, get this baby on here. There we go. Red Solo cup. I'll fill you up. Let's have a bolt party. Toby Keith. God rest his soul. There's two. Ah, no. See if I can move this thing out of the way so we can turn this the other way. That was strength. That was a good 10 out of 10 there for strength. Those are really torqued in there from the factory. They don't want those coming off. Now there's one. I could definitely take this off. This. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to this one. Let's see. Maybe. Let's try her out. This one's going to be close. Oh, look at that. It's right there. Okay. Question is to be able to pull up without killing your knees and your back. Torque wrench. And I can't really stand up and do it. So I just jerk back and forth. Got broke loose there. Might have to kind of do it like this, maybe. Will that fit? It sure seems like it's loose. Loose, maybe. See if this will fit on here. Maybe it will. Whoa! windy. Wow, that was a big gust of wind. Did I scratch my car? Yeah, that scratched her. Man, it hasn't been that windy all day. Let's see, is that a scratch? Unfortunately, that's a scratch from this. They said it was going to be windy, but that was really windy. I guess I need to get my sandbags out. Alright, didn't think I was going to need these. It wasn't windy at all, just I guess this dusk, when the sun's going down, that wind's going to pick up in Texas. My thing was to repaint this anyways, but the wife backed into the 4Runner, so I got to get that fixed anyways. I think I was about to paint this red, like the new Ford red. Okay, so we got the last bolt off. Now this is not going to come off. You got to buy a special tool kit. One of these. You can see in here. This is a ring with 3 washers. I think there's a nylon washer in there. So press on it's going to make that ring go larger. It's in a little groove back there. Well, that wind is really picking up. Get in there in the grooves. Squeeze as hard as I can. Get that out. There we go. That gives you an idea. Probably don't need this anymore until tomorrow. Could probably put it away. Anyways, here's these 3. 3 of them. And there's the middle one. Lots of grease in there. Now, this should come off. Doesn't have anything holding in. And voila. Oh. What do we got? One more thing hooked up here. Yeah, I forgot about that little guy. There's a little bolt right here, and that's gonna need to be undone. I'm gonna go get a tool for that. So I'm just gonna take a wild guess. This is what I had on this. It's a 5/16, and when I did the other side, I bet you this is gonna fit, and it fits. Except I'm tightening it. There we go. There we are. Put that in the bucket of bolts. Now we should be good to go. Perfect. Halfway there. Now don't put this on backwards when you put it back on. Remember, it's always like this, not like this. Otherwise it'll scrape on your tire. I've done it. Then you got to feed this line through before you put that on. But you got it. All right, as you can see, there's lots of little metal flakes everywhere from things not going the way they should. Yeah, we have some definite grease on here. Not the right kind either, kind of sticky. So this always goes, with these divots, it always goes in like that. So we'll clean this up. Put that in there for now. All right. That is the complete uninstall of your wheel hub assembly. Now we have Loctite and we're going to have the new bolts, if I can find them. This is most of the time spent on any project is finding what you set down, right? So this new one comes with new bolts. We're going to see how much Loctite I have left. Yep, there's some left. There's the 4 bolts that go through that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Summertime in Texas. All right. Don't want those coming out. Definitely want to torque these down after we get that part in. Alright, we have all those in. Now, just going to grab a little holding wrench here on somewhere where there's not going to be threads. Torque these down. 2, 3, 4. I have a little thing here. Take that out. I want to show you, look at all of the extra goop here around here. That's not good. That one's long gone. That's why, I don't know if you can hear the cicadas out. Beautiful sounds of cicadas in Texas in summer. Okay, we have some anti-seize lubricant here. Let's put a little in here. And a little bit around this. Just to kind of help it spin a little bit more so it doesn't wear down the rubber. A little extra, and there's a little extra in here too. Wipe that off. Okay. Ready to put this bad boy back. Brush washer. These are going to go on the inside. It's all cleaned up. Bonk, just like that. Ready to put this one in. This has to be facing up. A lot of people sometimes accidentally put it like this, and then it just rubs against the wheel or the brakes. We want to feed this through here, like that, and then put these holes through here. Hold on, we got something caught there. There you go. Okay. This thing's a bit heavy. Use your muscles. I gotta get this out of the way. Okay. Goes just like that. And that'll attach there. This will go all the way up over here. Plug it in over here later on. In the meantime, we're going to take all of these that we had. I'm going to clean these off before. I'll be right back. Alright. This is not seating very good here. Need to kind of slam it in, maybe. That feels like it's better. Because without this really slammed in there, that feels like I slammed it in there. Without slamming it in, there's a little groove way back here. And once you put these on, it's really hard to get this O-ring back on. So I'm thinking that it slammed in there pretty well when I did that. So we're going to do metal, nylon, hexagon, metal. Now our O-ring. And pray for the best. Because without this seating here, this isn't gonna hold anything. So you kind of gotta feel it click in. And I'm not too certain that's clicked in at all. It might be. I'm thinking that might be seated in. I'll have to double check. Well, I'm running out of batteries for tonight, but I'll get up early tomorrow morning. We'll have a little bit more light on this, and we'll make sure that this is going to be seated in there. I believe it's seated, but and then we'll get on with the rest of the putting it together. Okay, here we are the next morning, ready to tackle this again. So I'm going to try to see if this is going to get seated in here. See if that's... Kind of feels like it's in there. Let's see if I can take it out a little bit at all, if anything. That feels like it's in the slot there. Okay. Alright, so we have all of this tagged in. So now we're going to put these back bolts on the back to hold this in. We're doing all 4 of these, and we don't want these to come off, so we're putting Loctite on these as well. A little Loctite on there because you do not want that coming off. And tighten that one. I'll do the next one. These are 21 millimeter bolts, by the way. Not the easiest to get your hand back there. But that's what it looks like. We'll do a little extension on this one so I can reach it better. There's 2. And I'll do the other 2. Okay, these rear nuts, you want to torque these down to 133 foot-pounds. Click. We're going to call that good enough. That's my motto, is good enough. Dude, that totally looks stock. Good, good enough.
There, what was that?
It's good enough. Mine only goes up to 85 pounds, so I'm just gonna get these as tight as I can without going crazy. We do have Loctite on them. We don't want this falling off though. Extension on this bad boy for this top one. Okay, those are all torqued down. Alright, I don't want this to move when I'm putting all the brakes on, so we're gonna, we as in me, can lift up this tie rod end that's connected to my dual shock stabilizer, steering stabilizer. So I just have to power it up and just put it in. Let's see if we can't get this up and at him. Oh, jeez. Man, how'd I get this out? I'd have to take that all apart in order to get this back in. Okay, so I undid the shocks here from this, and then I was able to pull this. I should have been recording it, but I saw that tire pull in a little bit, and so I think after I disconnected it, that tire might have gone that way a little bit, and that's why I couldn't lift it up. But that's probably another reason why you have to get everything aligned afterwards, because not sure how this is going to line up. But we'll just have to put these back together now. Put the bolt in here, tighten this down, then we'll get on with the project. A little side track there, but you know, shows you what can happen in the middle when things go a little bit wrong. Okay, I'm going to show you guys every single detail from start to finish here, just so we have every bit of information of taking it apart and putting it back together. Step-by-step process. So hopefully that'll leave for less screw-ups. Okay, beautiful birds out this morning. Nice to hear the Texas birds. Let's see here, is that that's gonna be loose. I have my torque wrench here. This is a 21 millimeter, although it fits. It does fit all the spark plugs too. I'm going to torque this down to 67 foot-pounds. There you go. Have our cotter pin. Used cotter pin, going to call that good enough. Although we don't want this breaking off. Looks like it's still in okay shape. Bend it all the way around. Less chance that it's going to come off. Tight squeeze there. Alright, now I need to go put those shocks back on the steering stabilizer. Be right back. Okay, you're might ask, hey Scott, is that dual shock steering stabilizer, is that helping the Excursion? And yes, it did. It tightened up the steering. I got a redhead steering box as well, and between those two, that definitely tightened up the steering. And I replaced this whole steering mechanism too. So I replaced all the tie rods, put a steering stabilizer on, redheaded steer gearbox, and I used to have a Hellwig sway bar in the back, but it fell off because the bolts fell out. I still need to get new bolts and put that back on, and I need to get, you know, the bushings are just thrashed on the front of this. They're gone, and you need a torch to take that off. So when we put, me and my buddy Mike put the Adelifes on in here, we weren't able to get that bolt off and get the bushings. We just didn't have a torch on hand. So I'm gonna have somebody install this whole thing because I'm just a little bit too busy with my work. And once I get my ATS springs, X codes, and modified C's, I'm gonna have somebody install them. It'll have all brand new bushings. We have Bilstein 5100 shocks all the way around, and man, it drives good as it is right now, so I can't imagine with new leaf springs and that rear sway bar back on, that'll be a game changer. I can't wait. And then I'm going with 35s. Okay, back to what we got going here. We're all set up. We got this back on. So next, okay. So this is going to be a contact area. So I'm going to put some copper anti-seize lubricant around here, just to where it contacts everything, you know, just the extra little stuff, make those parts wear easier. There we go. And in here, where the locking hub goes, We're going to put some more anti-seize in here. It's just, things go better with lubricant, right? Okay, I've wiped off all these surfaces. There we go. Let's hold this on so it's nice and perfectly aligned where we want it. Okay. Want to make sure these are all nice and greased. That's not a lot of grease in there. I think I might get some grease and put more grease in here and seal these back up real quick. Okay, so these flex for your brakes to go in and out, okay? And I've seen these get gunked up before, then they don't work, and then your brakes don't go in and out. These also hook into here and keep the brakes in and out. So, or one of them. Not in and out, but out. So I'm gonna take this and wipe this off of all the old stuff here. Because Ford Excursion brakes are pretty marginal at best. Probably Ford F-Series too, if it's all the same thing. And I know we all want better brakes. That's why people, you know, they get to the Dana 60s, or there's the Dana 50s, Dana 60s up front. And they do the axle swap. Comes with supposedly better brakes. I've heard both, yes and no. So this is caliper grease and brake quiet. So see, it's right for these pins right here. Oh, pins right here. It's right for these. So let's get some caliper grease. Load this up just to make sure we're not missing anything, because, you know, a lot of times these things haven't been taken apart for a very long time. It's not something we really enjoy doing, do we? I don't know, I'm pretty much enjoying this. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have put that on until I had this on. There we go. Alright, put that all the way to the top here. And then put some grease on here. Make sure there's lots of grease in there. It might be too much. Too much of a good thing. We'll snap that boot back on. This part, these boots are cracked. Ay, ay, ay. Not good. Not terrible, not good. Those boots are cracked. That's just going to wear bad. But we got to get it back together for now, so we'll call that good enough. Alright, where's my other boot? We won't do so much on it this time. Now, this one's not as cracked, but it is cracked. We just don't want to... Oh boy. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't want your project to be a couple more days, and some things just have to be good enough for now. Snap this boot on here. I think the main thing is the boot is
snapped onto both sides. There we go. Oh. Alright. That's snapped on to both sides. Lots of grease in both. Look at that. That's much better. Nice little flex there. That's a whole next grease up for the next 5 years. Okay. We did have a part that fell off. Right here. This little guy fell off. Alright, so now we have everything that's going to hold your brakes on everywhere. Here's our big bolts. Okay, here we're going to do Loctite on these big bad boys because you never want these coming out. We're going to put this right here, your bracket. This is going to hold on all of this. Perfect. Get my other big bolt. Hold this bracket on. Now there's no threads in this part, but there is in the bracket. Perfect. I'm a bit of the manual guy. I use tools when I can, but I'm not a professional, so this is 21 millimeter. I got my breaker bar here so I can really torque it down. Got my notes here. Alright, the torque of the rear nut's going to be 133 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench that goes up that high. So I'm just going to crank down on it. With Loctite, I don't think that's coming off. Okay. Those are still working. Let's put the brake pads in. Well, actually, let's take this down and push in these brake calipers so they'll fit over the brakes. Okay, we're gonna clamp the brakes down. I got a C-clamp, old school. What I'm gonna do is undo this cap on the brakes, and hopefully I'll remember to put it back. So when I am clamping on those, it's going to have room for the oil to go up. If not, we're going to have an issue. I'm sure you saw the V10 engine in there. I got this from my buddy at 135,000 miles. And right now it has about 170,000 on it. And the only thing that's gone wrong is the starter and the alternator. I put all these coil packs in, high performance coil packs. I did all new spark plugs. What I did is kind of like a non-Loctite, the opposite of Loctite, and I torqued it down to about 12 foot-pounds each. And I haven't had any blowouts yet. So there's a secret for you right there for the spark plugs, and this is a 2000. I haven't had any issues with anything. It's been running purring like a kitten. Like, it never misses anything. So until this blows up, when it blows up, I might throw like a, I don't know what I'll throw in it, 7.3 Godzilla engine. I have no idea. Maybe a Cummins 24 valve with an Allison transmission. That always sounds nice. Whether how much money it'd take to get those things to work together, that's a whole nother thing. Simplicity works, but a lot of people don't like buying the a lot of people don't think the value goes up when you put another engine in like that. It's kind of a hack job. But I did see one guy with 1,000 horsepower Cummins in it, and I was pretty jealous of that. Anyways, okay, let's get back to this. And my wife likes to keep certain things. Every single board, my kid breaks in Taekwondo. And I guess I can't complain because now I have a use for them. Eventually. Yeah. So, get the C-clamp going. Get both calipers at the same time going. Push them both in. Camera's falling off my face. Hold on. Okay, so that's all in. Take that off. Thank you, Mr. Board. Okay, so we're going to try to balance that up there. What I'm going to do is just wipe these off. Very toxic, by the way. I wash my hands afterwards. You don't want this brake dust on anywhere. Cancer-causing agents. So, same with the back. I'm going to wipe these off. And anywhere where you're going to have friction, I just suggest that you put some of this copper anti-seize lubricant just where it's going to be touching. Okay, these brake pads are looking good. Now we're just going to pop them in here. There we go. Put them on the back side. Okay. Can get a little messy there if you have too much grease on there. Okay. Now these are supposed to keep brake pads from being on it. So you want to widen these. supposed to separate the brake pads. Okay. Now, okay, we're going to take these, and these are going to screw right in here. See that notch? That notch is going to go right against there so it can't turn. Details, details. See how it's twisting? Once it gets up in there, that notch, it'll stop twisting. But you want to make sure that's seated in there correctly while you're putting it together. I think that's going to be too big. Let's find the right tool. Alright, for these caliper bolts, it's 42 foot-pounds. That's in the slot. The boots are covering the caliper pins everywhere. Got plenty of grease in there. Probably wipe a little excess off there. Wipe a little excess off here. See how that's moving back and forth nice and freely. And once I press on these calipers, it'll get these babies going. Okay. It's looking almost done here. All right. We're going to stick the locking hubs in. Wiped it off. These are kind of rinky-dink. You know, these are all hooked up to a system that, like this hose is disconnected. It's all about hose, but this doesn't look like it's very, I don't know. It's never worked properly for me. I need to, maybe in another episode we can roll through that and I'll get that working, because I would like on the fly, if I'm up in Colorado mountains or something, I'd like to not be able to get out of the truck and just put it in four-wheel drive. But these things are so rinky-dink at the same time. This is really odd. Oh, this is not fitting in. This is a little worrisome, to be honest, why it's not fitting. Make sure the seal is down there correctly, because that's where the air pressure is going to come in to switch that four-wheel drive on. That air pressure comes down. I wonder if the other wheel bearing assembly was so damaged that it damaged this. We are stranded. I don't want to. Oh, this might be a little bit worse than I thought. Oh, it fit in. Good. Okay, so we do have some worn components in there. But, you know, my plan is in the long run is to switch for the 07 axle swap on this. So that's why I'm just trying to keep it plugging along here for as cheap as possible until that time comes. I don't remember being at this hard. Let's do it with my hands. Yeah, I just kind of squeeze it with my fingers. I want to make sure that's seated in there. You do not want this popping out like that. Let's try it again. Get that seated.
A few moments later.
Man, that first time I was so close. All right. Now I need to get it seated. Without popping back out. So maybe this thing's just not in deep enough to where it can't seat. So what I'm going to do is push on both sides at the same time. See if we can't get it to pop in. Because that does not feel like it's popping in. It does not feel like it's seated. And it's just going to pop out and the whole thing's going to fall out. It's going to be... See if I... There you go. Now it popped in. Okay, now I'm feeling better. You do not want that popping out. Make sure that's seated no matter what. Now this, everything's worn off, so we don't know which one is. I think that's locked. That's unlocked. Unlocked feels a little bit looser. All right. So last thing we got. All right. Now this is important. This is the last piece of the whole puzzle, and this is what told me that my bearing was going out in the first place. So we definitely want to have this hooked up because this is a good warning system. ABS. And this truck is a 2000. It has ABS. That is your 5/16. Okay. We'll pop this in this bracket. Pop this in this bracket. Not sure which hole that goes in. That one. There we go. Goes right there. We don't want this sticking out too much. If anything, sticking up that way. There we go. I wonder if this can slide up. Can this slide up on here? Try to get this to slide up a little bit. Nope. I guess we're just going to have a little bit extra. Tuck it underneath there. Okay. Okay. Man, that's right where that tire scrapes, isn't it? Well, that's pulling this back. But that seems to be right in the way of where I've got to plug this in. But there we go. All plugged in. Off to the side, ABS is plugged in. Fit the bigger tires, I just pulled this back with a little zip tie so the tires wouldn't rub. You know, 33s with an add-a-leaf don't rub at all, but they don't rub at all unless you have spacers. And then they might rub a little bit. So I'm going to take spacers off so they won't rub at all. So I'll be ready to go off-road at any moment's given time. And 35s with the X codes will fit, but with spacers, no. I don't think so. Okay, voila, she's all done. I think I just want to inspect the wheel, and make sure there's no damage to the wheel. If it is, I have an extra one. Let's go check that out. All right, what I warned myself about, whoa, big bug. What I warned myself about, now that we have that brake fluid, let's get that back. Okay, that's back on. Now I'll dig out the wheel. Okay, well, unfortunately, looks like this wheel's toast. And that's my fault. But I do have a spare. You can see where the last two lug nuts were holding this on. It's really chewed these in. And I could probably use this as a spare for emergencies, but I had never gotten a spare tire cover for the back. But time to go to the tire store and get this tire mounted on my spare wheel and then balanced, and then we'll be ready to go. And these are getting cracks in many ways. These are about toast. Once I get the new suspension on, I'm going with 35s anyways. Probably Coopers. These I heard were not too good in the rain, and that was after I was in a rainstorm, and the rainstorm that pretty much knocked that whole system out up there. We got caught in the middle of the front, and we were trying to outrun it, but we just got caught in it for 4 hours. It was torrential, and these did terrible in the rain. So these are KO2s, all-terrains, TABF Goodrich, and the KO3s supposedly fixed that problem, but the KO2s suck in rain, I gotta say. But I've always liked these tires. I have them on the 4Runner as well, and I really like them, but I think there's better choices. So next time we're going with Coopers, all-terrains, and we're going to test those out on the Excursion, and then maybe put them on the 4Runner if it works out. All right, so I'm going to go do that. Then I have to jack up each wheel and take off each of the spacers and bring all the spacers off as soon as I get this mounted. And hopefully you don't have as many issues as I did. Just pay attention to noises, pay attention to lights on your dash, and you should be good. If you have a light on your dash and you drive it for the next month, something like this can happen to where you have a lot more damage than you expected. But not too bad. Didn't really cost me anything. Cost me 75 bucks, 79 bucks for this part. And pretty much I was able to salvage everything else. Besides, you know, I had an extra wheel. So, okay. Till next time. See ya.